Hey, Pete, how's your brain feeling?
Yeah,
right?
How's that sound?
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Vapor lock?
Well, if it helps here, I can narrow down the question a little bit. How's your brain feeling, size-wise? Ooh.
Oh, no. Do I have a small brain?
I don't think so, Pete. I've got good news for you because a new study in August of this year from the Australian National University examined the coexistence of anxiety and depression. The study, published in the Journal of Psychiatry and Neuroscience, examined 10,000 people and found those with depression alone had lower brain volumes, lower brain sizes, especially in the hippocampus. What did the second finding reveal? That when both anxiety and depression occur together, no shrinkage appears in the hippocampus, and our old friend, the amygdala, the part of the brain linked to emotions, increases in size. They concluded that the overactivity of anxiety causes the brain to make more connections and thus literally becomes larger. How's your brain feeling now?
I have big brain!
Check out the big brain on Pete!
I have big brain!
And this actually helps explain a lot to me because ever since what happened at the Capitol the other week, I've had a pretty consistent headache. And I think it's just because my brain is getting swole, son. We stormed the Capitol and my brain is getting so jacked, yo. It's like the Grinch's heart at the end of The Grinch Stole Christmas. It's just like boom, boom, boom.
Bursting out of your brain,
out of
your
head
cranium.
Cage. Exactly.
Oh, God, watch your ears. They're just going to start leaking.
Oh, I can see my brain past my eyes if I look close enough. Yeah.
That's how they did. Yeah, that's how they did it. With lobotomies, they just trim off the part that leaks out.
Yeah.
That's what I hear they used to do that on the Nick.
The Nick. I never watched that. I can't imagine that I'd enjoy that. Anyways.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, because it's all like lobotomies and like, we're not good at science, so let's just throw something sharp at you. So anyways, enjoy your new brain. And it's getting bigger and bigger. And my best guess is that my new brain is going to find my old brain sitting on the beach and like kick sand in his face and steal his best girl.
Aww.
I know.
And you run around in your old letter jacket and oh man.
My new brain's a jerk.
All these just wanna be a mini me. All these just wanna be a mini me. All these just wanna be a mini me.
Welcome to What's That Smell? A sometimes funny podcast about humans and their anxieties. I'm Tommy Metz III.
And I'm Pete Wright.
And every week we each drag one of our deepest, darkest anxieties into the light to share it, learn about it,
and hopefully laugh about it with all of you.
Reach out to us. Go to whatsthatsmell.net. Again, whatsthatsmell.net. And up sort of towards the top right, there is a little button that you press that Pete made out of internet juice. And it says donate your anxiety. And you can be as anonymous as you want. Just tell us whatever it is. We'll do research. We'll laugh about it. And we'll solve all your problems at the end. Sound good?
Just like real science.
Just like real science. So reach out to us again. That's whatsthatsmell.net. And with that, Pete, and with your permission, I will go first.
Pardon me, I get hectic. I survive through the wreckage. You should go look for the exit. New sheriff in town, I get a little reckless. Missed the memo, go check.
Pete, this week I'd like to start my section by having you watch a brief video. And would you mind describing what you see to the audience? And you'll put this in the show notes later. It's very brief. What do you see? Go ahead, Pete.
Okay, so I'm pushing play now. And we open with a bunch of, looks like high school students. They are graduating. They've got their purple gowns and purple caps and their yellow stoles. And parents are, everybody taking pictures. And, for crying out loud. Parents are punching each other in the audience. Tom.
Is it done?
Yes, it's done.
Pete, this brawl took place on May 17th, 2017 in Cordova, Tennessee. And what made it notable is that, as you saw, it happened during a high school graduation ceremony for Arlington High and was being held, as you maybe saw, in a Baptist church. Now, Pete, here's my question. Do you have any guesses about what that fight may have been about?
What do you fight about when you're at your kid's graduation?
That's a good question.
What is there to fight about? You're graduating not hard enough?
Right. Graduate faster.
Seats?
Pete.
Is it somebody over a seat? They're upset about seat arrangements?
Pete, you got it in two. Saving seats. A member of a family was saving seats for her husband and children, and a woman sat in one and refused to move. When confronted, as you saw, well, there are other more graphic versions of this video, but it leads to hair pulling, water, and punches being thrown. Eventually, the woman in the brown dress was handcuffed and escorted out of the church. Pete, why am I telling you all of this?
This is awful.
Because I have the honor of sharing a listener submission, Pete.
But that's terrific.
A real one this time, not one that I wrote pretending to be
From
my
your dog?
This one comes from the lovely and talented Dara Weinger, and it goes as follows. Quote, well, it doesn't necessarily relate in Corona era, but holding a seat for someone in a crowded theater, concert venue, or any scenario where there are more butts than seats makes me incredibly anxious. As soon as I sit down and reserve a seat next to me, I immediately break out in cold sweats for fear of potentially having to confront someone and tell them that the seat's taken. My body cannot regulate temperature until the reserved seat is filled with the person I'm holding it for. Dara. Now, Pete, anxiety over saving a seat, Pete. Seat, Pete. Of course. Okay. First and foremost, fistfights breaking over seat saving are incredibly rare. But this anxiety is so real and so right on for me, I am staggered we have not covered it yet.
Flabbergasted.
I'm flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted.
And I'm surprised that there doesn't seem to be a specific name for this feeling. I could not find a phobia of saving seats. But the big surprise of that is, Dara, please know you are not alone. Pete, you want me to go first, or do you want to explain, do you have this anxiety ever in your life?
In a word, yes. Now you.
Okay. I have been in this position a lot, not as much anymore, luckily, because, well, not anything anymore, because I don't leave my house and I'm saving what my dog is eat. But when I would, most of the things in Los Angeles that I go to are now all reserved seating. So I don't have to worry about it. But when I've been in this position in the past, especially growing up, I feel like a range of feelings. First, if it's just one seat, for me, no problem. That's okay. But if it's more, yes, I worry about confrontation. I worry what I'm doing is rude to others or is breaking some sort of social contract. And then I get, sometimes if it takes too long, I get angry at whomever I'm waiting for and wondering why they're taking so long. It's worth pointing out that there can be a certain amount of resentment in this. You've been forced to represent the many and have sort of been left alone against the rising tide. So yeah, this one can be really rough. And I'm surprised it's not rough for certain other people.
Yeah, like for the people who ask you to save seats. It should be rough for those people, too. Like, they should know that what you're asking is you're asking me to be like Nero or Hannibal on a march to the sea. Like, you're asking me to put on an outfit of seat-holding courage that I do not wield often. Right? Like, you have to have a certain callousness to the universe to hold especially long seats. Like,
it's like
when
like
people say, here, just take 3 or 4 of our jackets and throw them out on the seat, and we'll be there. We're just parking the car. Just parking the car. Those words are anathema to good citizenship in the seat holding debate.
Here.
We're just parking the car. That's BS right there. What you're doing is you're just taking your sweet damn time and leaving me holding 11 seats at the parade of lights, and I'm having none of it.
Wow.
Oh, I did not know that we were peeling this back today.
You have uncovered a monster, Dara, and the monster's name is Pete. Holy cow. I like that you used like battlefield. I was sort of, it's like putting your finger in the dike, like you're the only thing keeping the flood, but it's at like a Coldplay concert.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing. Like, I feel like I need to put on like my punk hairdo and my jacket of spikes, and I need to go in like with my baseball bat of nails to protect the seats. Right. Protect the seats. All I do is I sit down in a seat and there are coats, and I just pretend for as long as I possibly can that they're not mine, that they actually belong to the person on the other side of the saved seats. And then when confronted, I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that those seats are even remotely saved, until I'm outed by the nincompoop on the other side who says, oh, yeah, no, I'm not saving any. These must belong. And they don't finish any sentences. I'm not saving any. These must belong and they're indicating that this belongs to me, and I have to look like a doofus with the save seats, and then I get ready for battle. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
But you do really lean into it by going, whose coats are these? Like really shining a spotlight on it of like, boy, whoever these coats are is a real nincompoop. It's kind of like, I don't know, Hannibal going into battle. Like you're just screaming the word anathema while then whispering to your phone, hurry up, hurry up. They know it's me.
Please, God, hurry up. I'm alone. The text threads. And of course, you're in a theater. So your texts aren't getting out to people. And so it's just string of bubble on the right. And no bubbles on the left. They're all you bubbles and no, which makes you feel completely and utterly and depressively alone in your battle for the seats.
And then you like think about, you envision what is your family or what are your friends doing out in the lobby. They're just chatting. They're making drinking. A souffle. Like anything that just takes so long. And then, of course, the souffle falls. They're like, okay, back to the drawing board.
And then you know what happens? The lights flash.
Yeah.
Right? The lights flash. They do the first light flash like 5 minutes and they're still not there. No. They're still not there and the lights are flashing, which means you now are no longer trying to be chill. You're standing up and you're looking sternly toward the doors in the back of the theater.
Screaming the word jackets.
Just mad. And you're probably... Whose jackets are these?
These jackets aren't people! Rise up, Gotham!
I have a real hard time with this one. How have we not talked about this
Isn't
before?
that weird?
This is just,
She had said that it was going to be something about timeliness. And then when it was this, I was like, oh, right, yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I'm really worried about our future because like this, she said it doesn't relate to COVID. It doesn't really in COVID times, but I think it does eventually, right? Because we're going back into a universe where we still have to social distance in theaters, which means fewer seats available to the same number or more butts, right?
Oh, it's going to be even worse.
They're all going to be like, we're going to have a lot of reserved seats in most cases, I imagine. That's right. But I feel like supply is now significantly below demand for the same events.
That's a good point. We're going to have to bring so many more jackets because you have to reserve the social distance
you have to tie them together and string them long stretches.
Like a cartoon prison escape. We just have like these long sheets tied together.
Open the closet. Why are 300 sheets tied together? Well, those are our seat-saving sheets.
Yeah, because my cousin's in town.
Product idea, Tom. We need to watch that smell anxiety sheet-saving sheet knots. How have we not thought of this?
Anxiety seat-saving sheet knot. That's rough. Yeah. Seat-saving sheet knots. Seat-saving sheet knots.
You should have anxiety just saying it.
Yeah.
If you're not, then you're not doing it right.
I did do a very brief and wholly unscientific check on a number of like etiquette columns. You know, just the top ones like Miss Manners, Ask Alice, Dear Meredith from the Aspen Sojourner, the Peggy Post, the Oklahoman, you know, all the hot sites that the kids love. When they're not on TikTok, they're just all over the Aspen Sojourner. I don't even know what that word means. And another thing, this question is asked constantly. And then there are also these op-eds in different places just coming in hot, saying enough. Stop sharing seats. We can't do it. And, but anyways, the consensus, if there is one, seems to be that saving 1 or 2 seats is okay, but 3 or more starts to get iffy. And that's only acceptable if the people you're saving for are on the premises already. And so it'll only be like 15 minutes. Like they're getting a drink, not still driving to the event or boiling pasta water or whatever people do. When
or souffles.
Yeah, exactly.
Lobby souffles. Yeah. No, I was just going to say that. A bathroom trip, saving seats for a bathroom trip. I actually feel remarkably comfortable saving seats if the people walk into the theater with me. If we've all claimed these are our seats and they leave their own jackets there, I am fine saying, oh no, they went to the bathroom. They'll be right back. Yeah. Right. Yep. That's okay. That's okay.
I completely agree. Yeah. But it's only for me, like, even if 4 or 5 people get up to go get a drink or something, it's a little It's a little rough.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
It is rough. It's still out there.
How do you
I
feel
don't
about
like this one at all?
saving seats in the bathroom?
Well, I do have my patented "What's that smell?" urinal squatting sheets.
When is our new catalog coming out? Because these
I know we really need it because right now it
yeah.
only has 2 products in it.
One of the things that I found while doing a little bit of research is this really comes up a lot in one situation that didn't even occur to me. Southwest airline flights. Apparently, there is an epidemic. Oh, for those that might not know, Southwest Airlines has a very interesting first come, first serve seating situation. You're assigned a number, and then once you get on the plane, you can pick any seat that you want, wherever it is. And so there's just a run on, aisles and windows, and then at some point they start, while people are still filing down, the person will go over can be like, it's just middles, everybody. You see a middle, take it.
Right.
There's no magical seats waiting. Anyways, there are reports, tons of complaints that one family member buys early bird status, which puts you in the top 15, and then reserves
and then everybody gets
multiple rows of seats for their family members who are way back in the line. And I looked it up. The airline doesn't have a policy allowing or forbidding any seat saving. They leave it to the passengers and the flight attendants to solve disputes on their own. And there's actually a lot of flight attendants that have anonymously come out and said, please stop it.
Yeah.
We're getting in arguments all the time. It is such a hot topic that on the company-run online forum, the Southwest Airlines community, one thread had so many comments about this that the moderator shut it down and replaced the issue resolved after 4 months of just one thread of comments. And then 3 days later, the topic opened back up and it still remains there today. It is like a serious problem.
Cannot get rid of it. That's amazing to me. And I think that is why, and I actually, for all other reasons, I actually really like Southwest. And when I'm traveling alone, I like Southwest. But if I'm traveling with if I'm traveling with my family, I will not fly Southwest. I won't do it.
For this reason.
Especially when my kids are young. When my kids were young, because again, there is no policy beyond the goodwill of airline passengers, which I don't know if you've noticed is not a real sort of concentrated vat of goodwill when you're flying
because
after
it's
a long day.
Everything about the airport is so terrible. By the time you get to the flight, it's like you just got released into prison.
Right.
Yeah, you just have to go up to the biggest guy you see and hit him in the face. So no one bothers you.
Hey, will you let me sit next to my 3-year-old who doesn't want to sit between those 2 adult men?
Right.
Like, can I please trade seats with you? And they're like, nope, my aisle seat's more important than your familial duty. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. I can't stand the whole experience. Southwest is just agonizing experience because of their seat policy.
Because I fly mostly alone. You're right. I don't suffer from that. And I'm a big, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm a big seat changer. Meaning if I'm asked by a family if they can sit together.
Oh, so you're the goodwill guy.
I'm the goodwill guy, but then there's another side of it is usually if you do that, free drinks. The flight attendant will notice that, and if you want, we'll start giving you beer. It's happened to me 3 different times, and I'm not paying for it. She'll pretend, she'll be like, "Oh, do you have another coupon?" And I'm like, "No," and she goes, "Okay, I'll take it," and then gives me a beer. It's great. So then
awesome.
3 beers in, I'm like, "How long have you been a family?" It doesn't end up great, but
so wait, 3.5, 4. I can't. That is one of now many reasons that I do love flying Southwest, and but I will not fly it with people.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep.
Well, Dara, there's no real solution to this. I mean, sometimes we can help in that you are clearly not alone, and clearly you and Pete have started.
Sometimes, Dara, that's the line, and that's all we got.
Exactly. But no, especially if it does help, if you're really just saving it for one person or 2 people, most people really do understand there isn't the spotlight on you. You don't need to suffer the cold sweats. But then past that, all we can hope for is it's a double act of charity. You are being nice and saving seats for someone, and you need to rely on the charity of other people observing that and allowing that compact.
Or Arlington High School 2017.
Yeah, or just
Class
bring extra water to throw. And
right.
If you start punching first, odds are you'll be fine. No one wants to sit next to Punchy.
That's what we're going to leave them with. That's good. That's our advice for today. Punch first. Medicines, communication, Velcro. So much of what we take for granted on the ground today started in hollow tubes way, way up above us. Thanks to science, complex lodgings and laboratories travel around our planet at thousands of miles per hour to support our fragile terrestrial human organism and allow us to continue to tick-tock without interruption. Alas, what goes up, so the saying goes, must come down. The fragile balance between gravity's pull to Earth and momentum is not infinite without some sort of corrective action from time to time. If the Earth-bound satellite or station overlords lose contact with facilities in space for some reason, eventually it might just fall. The European GOCE satellite, or the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellite, or the Pegasus 2, or the Salyut 7, or the Tiangong 1 space station, and on and on. Thanks to Space.com for offering us that partial list of the largest X-space machines, each of which has fallen into the atmosphere, burning to large pieces and falling to Earth. A fun example, the Cosmos 954 was a confidential nuclear Soviet spy satellite. It weighed in at 8,400 pounds. Launched in late 1977, the rocket booster never fired or separated from the satellite itself, which would have lifted it to what they call a nuclear-safe orbit. Instead, it made a very real and nuclear-threatening, out-of-control re-entry just a few months later, spreading its radioactive guts across northwestern Canada. The Canadian government sent the Soviets a $6 million bill. But that wasn't the biggest space bomb to fall out of control. That honor belongs to Skylab, the NASA space station launched in 1973. The station weighed in at 85 tons and hosted only 3 visits between 73 and 74 before they just sorta gave up on it. Solar activity and the expanding Earth's atmosphere had unpredicted effects on the station, and science could no longer control it. By 1979, it fell uncontrolled through the atmosphere, burning up over Western Australia. The Aussies living in Esperance charged NASA $400 for littering, a bill ultimately covered by a California DJ in 2009, thanks to the generous, if a touch tardy, donations from his listeners. Those donations didn't help keep Skylab afloat because they came too late. You don't have to let the same thing happen to your favorite anxiety podcast. By becoming a What's That Smell certified panic pal, you're ensuring that we stay in comfortable podcast orbit around your psyche. For a one-time contribution to the show, you're supporting the production, hosting, and time that we invest in Season 5. You'll have our immense gratitude. You'll be mentioned at length in our conversations behind your back as, quote, a real mensch. And you'll be one of the recipients of a sticker. Shipments begin this week. Just visit whatsthatsmell.net to learn more. Sign up for yourself, or if you're feeling grandiose, sign up for one of your friends with a gift membership. Thank you for supporting Season 5 of What's That Smell? Tom, I have a dog story.
Oh, good.
It's from a few weeks ago now.
Okay.
My dog is a real jerk sometimes. This is Gambit. We were walking, and it was raining because Portland, and we got down to the path, and the path that we usually walk on was particularly muddy, and there were kids on skateboards, and we don't care for them on dog walks. And then there was another woman and her much larger dog, and her dog was really doing fine. My dog was not doing fine. Just decided I'm going to lose it. And so we'd made it about 75 yards past this person.
With the big dog.
With the big dog. And, it was wet, and the dog was wrapping itself around me. And I decided I need to change leash hands. And I usually have the little loop around my right wrist, but he ran around my back. So I took it off my wrist. In that sweet second, he decides, you know what? I'm just
Jailbreak.
not done. I'm not done being a
Was
complete
that dog 75?
asshat right now. And I'm gonna go for a run, and was gone. And I mean, he was 60 yards before I'd taken 3 steps. And I do my freak out thing, and I start running.
Yep.
And I start
Home.
yelling, home. He's running, but not only...
You start running to the pet store.
Right. Well, I guess this one's done. And so I start running towards it. Now, the woman in question has the giant Sony noise-canceling headphones on, so she can't hear a thing.
She's not hearing any of this.
So now, go ahead, in terms of a visioning exercise, and pretend you're her. It's raining. You have a really chill dog who's doing the walking thing slowly through a muddy bog of a park path, and then a little white lightning dog hits your dog, followed almost immediately by a 200+ pound man who's been screaming at you. Dog inbound, dog inbound. Look out! All at once. That's gotta feel great. That's got to feel just great. So I get there and I put my left foot on the leash, which is on the ground. Of course, that's in the mud, and I slip and I twist my back out of whack and I twist my ankle out of whack all at once. And I'm trying to maintain my chill as I'm covered in mud, and trying to do my best to explain that my dog is not normally like that, knowing full well that my dog is always like that. And I am lying to a fellow human being, and that feels dirty too. So why am I telling you this?
I don't know.
I haven't been able to let it go. It's now been weeks, and I'm still thinking about that experience. And that it is the act of not being able to let it go that I would like to talk to you about today. And that is perseveration.
Yes. Really puts perseverating on something, obsessing on something.
Yeah. Now, I use that word.
Right.
I think I use that word a lot. And I use it all the time.
Yes.
It is a real fan.
I've been told that we both use it a lot
on
this podcast. Friend of the show, Scott Lamb, says that last season we used it, he thinks, every single episode.
I think we did. And I started thinking about it. It was only when I realized I've been thinking about that event, constantly thinking about how, stuff still hurts. Like, I'm not healing. It's because of that event. I can't let go of that event. And then it's just constantly that refrain of, God, I hope I didn't terrify that woman. I hope she doesn't need therapy after seeing my giant self bounding in on her and falling at her feet in the mud. And I just hope all of those things didn't happen. I can't let go of that. It's been so long. And I realize I'm perseverating, but I think I use that word a little bit cavalierly.
Oh, okay.
And so I decided I'm going to look it up, because now I'm feeling anxious about using the word incorrectly. So I'm thinking over and over again, maybe I just need a new word. So I start looking.
So first you look up the word spiraling, and then you head on over to the P's.
So we talk about what perseveration. When you use it, what is the context that you are describing?
I use it synonymous with obsessing, and I do it not in a real serious way, like literally obsessing, but I probably use it the most in thinking about things that bothered me or I regret. Like, I perseverate, and I kind of use it the same thing as worrying a sore tooth with your tongue.
Yeah.
I just can't leave it alone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And that fits the definition. Perseveration is repetitive and continuous behavior, speech, or thought that occurs due to changes in cognitive skills such as memory, attention, and mental flexibility. And I talked about a very similar topic on the ADHD podcast not long ago because of the attention aspect to it, right? Because attention dysregulation, like when you have ADHD, you can't regulate your attention, and so you naturally sort of pivot to whatever is causing you stress and anxiety. And so that's why it pairs so naturally with stress and anxiety and those sorts of things. Because when you're anxious about something, it's easy to just focus on it and let it take root in your head. So we know that stress and anxiety drive perseveration. Social anxiety causes us to be unable to sort of read the room, right? There are all kinds of read the room stories of people who have this repetitive speech, repetitive conversation when they are in a social situation and they're stressed out and they suddenly feel like I recognize in my eyes and ears that the conversation has moved on to something new, but I can't stop talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right now. So I'm just going to freight train my way right through it and keep talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that is an absolute behavior. Like when you get something on the brain and you can't let it go, when you're stressed, it'll just keep pouring out of your face and you can't stop it.
Because why is that? Not like the clinical reason, but is it because you can't think, you can't pivot, like you can't think of anything else?
Yeah, right. Because
you have a social need to keep talking, and that's
exactly it. You just can't, you can't think of anything else. And it becomes that story of mental flexibility in those of us who deal with social anxiety at the level of social anxiety. And so it's just, there are any number of reasons we'll talk about in a minute about why that might happen and things you can do for yourself to help improve that mental flexibility and practice. But generally when you're stressed, you have fewer choices. If you don't really put some intention behind it. We do the same thing with projects. When you fixate on projects that, you work and work and work until midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, and you think, okay, I'm doing great. And you realize you're just turning out crap at this point, but you can't let go. You can't stop working on that thing, whatever that thing is, right? I mean, how many times have you sat down and you're working on something in Premiere and you feel like, oh, I'm just going to go until I pass out. I have to finish, and then you turn it on the next morning. You're like, that's not even the same project. Like, why was I re-editing Thundercats cartoons? Because this was misguided.
I do the thing after a certain point. Yes, I'm not actually making progress. I'm sort of changing it from A to B. Slightly back to A to B, like it just loses its ability to be its own thing. And so I'm not even moving on. I'm just sort of like going back and forth that I need to just shut it down.
Right. Well, and this was the thing I started worrying about, that I use this word perseveration, and maybe I don't know quite the depths of which, like clinically, they use the word perseveration. And so that's why I wanted to look at it. I just have a couple of quick examples before we talk about, how to stay healthy through this stuff and give yourself some more choices. Because sometimes it's got increased association and experience with people who have brain injury, traumatic brain injury, those ER storylines where somebody walks into the ER and they have a rebar through their brain. That's a person who's going to perseverate later, right? Who's going to have trouble, like mental inflexibility later, right? Alzheimer's, aphasia, schizophrenia, Parkinson's, Huntington's, all of these diseases, these neurodegenerative disorders, lead toward perseveration. OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, absolutely. I mean, that's practically the definition of perseveration. And finally, this is one I found fascinating, which is autism. And I hope you'll indulge me. I have 2 paragraphs I would like to read. One, this is from Henny Kupferstein, who is a delightful blogger and musician and vlogger on YouTube with autism, and describes the difference between OCD and autistic people. And I actually I understand something new about the world after reading these things that I did not understand before, and I hope I can share it.
Great.
Okay, it actually made me feel better about the world in one small way. According to Henny Kupferstein, OCD is an obsessive compulsion to repeat a task or to be involved with a matter. It becomes a disorder when the person is unable to withhold from completing the task. The lead up to the task, checking the stove, locking the door, is rife with a pre-sneeze panic. It must come out. You must sneeze. Involuntary functions are aroused rather than paralyzed. It simply bursts forth like the sneeze that popped after you smelled a bunch of lilies. The person becomes more and more anxious as they repeat the task. Trying to ignore or stop your obsessions increases your distress and anxiety, and despite efforts to ignore the urges, they keep coming back. This leads to a more ritualistic behavior and the vicious cycle of OCD. So that's the first paragraph.
Got it.
And
Okay.
that describes my experience with it, right?
Okay.
That describes my experience. Even when I use the word non-clinically, it is perseveration. It is the focus on negative thought patterns, negative thought spirals that eventually leads to a full-blown panic attack. And that's exhausting, and I hate it, and it's terrible. And then she says this: autistic people operate with a radically different neurological setup. The structural anatomy of autistic brains are nearly indistinguishable from typical brains. However, the neurons fire up and move through pathways that result in a dramatically different worldview. A person with synesthesia is not mentally ill if they hear a number as a color. They're not having hallucinations, but rather experiencing a multisensory perception to a single stimulus. These perceptions are very exciting for autistic people and quite pleasing. The autistic person is happier the more they engage in their perseverations. The person who has OCD becomes more anxious as they try to resolve their compulsions. And I don't know if you've had it. That was it. That's what she had to say. I love that point. The autistic person is happier the more they engage in their perseverations, as opposed to the person living with OCD who becomes more anxious as they try to resolve.
Like they're losing control.
Yes. Yes. And so, and that is, maybe that's the switch to flip, which is that this is something we can learn about autistic people who are naturally, because of the way they are wired, naturally find joy instead of sorrow and anxiety in things that we're perseverating on. And I found that really hopeful. Because I don't live with autism, and I would never want to put myself in the shoes of, somehow trying to describe someone else's experience with autism. But I can tell you for sure that hearing the way Henny Kupferstein describes this was aspirational for me. It was absolutely aspirational. And I really loved hearing that framing exercise. So what do you think? You learn anything out of that?
Where does the pleasure come from? Again, I think I got a little bit lost in that part. Why is it because the synesthesia turned up, but I didn't know how does that relate to the
engagement part, right? It's the joy comes in engaging the perseveration. So when you're, she goes on to talk about, when you're perseverating on, hey, you're say a person with autism is in the backseat of the car and you're driving and you're trying to get to someplace they know where to go, and they tell you went the wrong way. You went the wrong way, and with every turn you make, you're getting more frustrated because you have somebody in the back seat who's reminding you that you went the wrong way, or you went your way instead of their way, and it's incredibly frustrating. And now, what's happening for you is that repeat frustration, and what's happening for them is I am getting such joy out of just engaging in the way my brain is perceiving direction right now, that I know so it's not how the map works right now, and I know that this is, and I have to keep doing this. And what causes it to be troublesome is when the world around them starts getting so loud and screaming at them to stop. But in fact, inside their head, the way she's talking about this is that there's actually, it's firing a lot of joy and engagement, and I think that's kind of cool. So
that's very cool and well explained. Thank you for that.
The well of things I don't know about so much neurodiversity is deep, but this one I feel like helped me understand a population I don't understand very well in a way that I really love and love to engage. So for those of us who aren't living with autism, there are some things that help resolve perseveration, and they're pretty much to be expected. Do you want to take a stab? We'll do a little survey says.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Don't leave your apartment.
Survey says no.
Train your dog to make you a sandwich. Tape your eyes shut.
No, pretty much the things you need to do to be able to maintain mental flexibility are sleep, exercise, avoid alcohol, eat well, develop a mindfulness practice that is more than I'm scared of this, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of this. Those are the big ones. But there's one that I think we're all struggling with, and it's why I think I might be living with perseveration now, when I'm perseverating on some things right now that maybe I wouldn't otherwise, and that is maintain healthy contact with friends and family. Because that sort of social interaction is really, really good for the brain, just like everything else.
And you're not alone in your own haunted house.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. And so those are some things that we can do better and make sure, it's not just, I actually think, I know there's a lot of Zoom fatigue right now, and we talked about that recently on the show, or Zoom gets old. But you know what? I think there is something about looking as close to as you can to in someone else's eyes, right? That, someone you haven't connected with in a long time, to jump on Zoom, jump on FaceTime, whatever you need to jump on, and look at somebody and share your world with them and practice those conversations and remember how to be a human. What do you think?
I like it. My brain is getting too big. Maybe today wasn't the time to teach me something new, because I'm just seeing black. I've got there's too much.
Somebody gotta pop it. Somebody get the ice pick. Intern? Ice pick, Tom?
No, ice pack. Ice pack. Oh, idiot.
Trying to get it worldwide, global. Looking like a show. You been killing this is O2 Spiller, the Hope Mandela. Life so free, can't no man kill him. Came from the bottom, was a broke man. Get up, still move like 10 man with no found widow. Boom. Pardon me, I get hectic. Boom. I survive through the wreckage. You should go look for the exit. New sheriff in town, I get a little reckless. Missed the memo, go check the
Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. This week's tune is Mini Me by We Are the Good, all caps.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III. Thank you so much for downloading. We'll be back next week on What's That Smell?